Myles here again, another 5-Minute Friday. So right now I'm looking at Grimsby, Ontario, a small town in the Niagara region, beautiful wine region. And today's episode is on brain power. It's a really important one. Hope you enjoy it. So stay tuned, check it out. One of the biggest things that distinguishes us between other animals is, other than us taking selfies on Facebook, is our ability to think. We can think and we can conceptualize and we can recognize patterns, make decisions, consolidate memory, and we have all these different things that we're able to do that animals can't do. And when you look at our brain's pretty big compared to the rest of our body, right? Like a whale has a massive brain, but they also have a massive body. Humans have a bigger brain compared to their body weight ratio. And what does this mean? It means that the bigger your brain is, in simple terms, the more smart we are. So is there a way to make our brain bigger? Is there a way to make our brain stronger and faster? And I'm here to tell you that yes, there is. It's with something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So brain-derived neurotrophic factor is something that literally causes brain cells to grow. It causes the dendrites of our brain cells to expand and allows us to grow more connections. It's what Harvard MD's John Rady calls miracle grow for the brain. And he doesn't say that lightly. So BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, was originally discovered in 1989. So it's been around for a while. People have researched it really well. And one of the most famous cases of brain-derived neurotrophic factor at work was in John Rady's book, Spark. And in it, he talked about a high school in Naperville, Illinois, that utilized BDNF in the early mornings of their school days before going to their hardest classes. And they started doing really well on all of their exams and their tests. And they wanted to test it on more of an international level. So they entered something called the TIMSS test, which stands for Trends in International Math and Sciences Study. And they competed against 50 other countries all across the world. Countries like Japan, Singapore, Korea, Canada, United States. And when they tested them in mathematics, they came 6th, which is pretty good behind Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan. But when they placed in science, they won. They came 1st place overall. And the United States scored 18th and 19th. So clearly this stuff works pretty well. But that really begs the question, how do we get it? Like, how do we actually get this stuff? And some bad news for you is that we can't actually make it. We cannot make it. We can't synthesize it in a lab. We can't buy it off a guy on the streets. But what we can do, and you might find this a little bit surprising, guess what you think it might be? It's exercise. When we exercise, our body releases this stuff, this brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and it's released in highest amounts after strenuous activity. And you might think, well, why would it be released during strenuous exercise? Why not when we're actually challenging our brain instead of our body? Well, if you ask a more fundamental question, like, why do we even have a brain anyways? Some people like Daniel Wolfpert, who's a neuroscientist, would say that we only have a brain.
We have a brain for one reason and one reason only, and that's to produce adaptable and complex movements. There is no other reason to have a brain.
And he even brings up a really cool example from nature of a sea squirt that swims around in sea until it finds a rock to live on. After it finds that rock, it stays on that rock and it never moves again. The first thing it does, it digests its brain. I know, kind of gross, but it's true. And so you might think, well, that's pretty crazy example. It can make our brain smarter in healthy individuals, but what about people that are going through like neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia? Can it make a brain that is struggling recover or maybe stave off these diseases? And science would show that it can. A study from the New England Journal of Medicine showed that when elderly people were doing frequent sessions of freestyle dancing, which is kind of funny to think, they staved off dementia by 76%, which is pretty drastic. And so all of these things related to movement really make us think maybe we should get moving more. Maybe we should take exercise as more of just an endorphin rush and something that's good for our heart and good for our muscles. It's actually the best thing that we can possibly do for our brain.
Exercise is really for our brains. Physical exercise turns our brains on.
And not only that, it's been proven to be effective for treating things like stress, anxiety, depression, and other mood-related disorders. A really cool study published by James Blumenthal in the year 2000 showed that exercise was as effective as the pharmaceutical antidepressant Zoloft. And that was a pretty convincing study.
In a September 2016 issue of Time magazine, Dr. Mark Tarnopolsky said that if there were a drug that could do for human health everything that exercise can, it would likely be the most valuable pharmaceutical ever developed.
So I ask, what are you doing to move around? Is there a way that you can get up and get going? Right now, for me, that's this hike this morning and climbing up the escarpment in the Niagara region, and I feel good. Like, I really do, I feel good. I can feel the lifting effect that it's had on me. So I challenge you, get yourself moving, find something that you like to do and put yourself out there. Breathe in the fresh air. Thanks for checking out this video, guys. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again next week. Till then, always be willing to change yourself and reinvent yourself. Take care.